Well, we're in the Crescent Hotel in Arkansas, and this is Hannah. Hey Hannah, say hi.
Hi.
Say something American.
Howdy.
How y'all doing?
How y'all doing?
And Kilo over here, and we're going to get a ghost tour. How scary. Holy moly. That's one of the ghosts trying to get me now. There's a scary mirror. Let's go.
Hey, well anyways, good evening, and welcome to the historic 1886 Crescent Hotel Ghost Tours. My name is Ken. I'll be your guide this evening. A little bit about our tour. We'll start up here. I'm going to tell you a little history of the city, then a little bit about the hotel, and then I'm going to show you a small video, only about 4 minutes long. Then we'll talk about some of the spirits, and then we'll start our walking tour. We'll start down here at the end of the hallway. We kind of zigzag our way back and forth. We go to 207 and then we go to 319. We kind of zigzag our way back and forth until we end up down in the basement in the morgue. And at one time it was a morgue. Today it's a maintenance shop, but like I said, at one time it was a morgue. So that's kind of how the tour goes, okay? A little bit on the history. The Basin Springs was considered to be sacred in hollow ground by the Choctaw, Cherokee, Osage, and Sioux Indians. They would visit this area for the healing powers of the natural springs. They say there's a lot of zinc and a lot of good minerals in the springs. And you know, we all take zinc. I mean, I look at my vitamins I take and I get taking zinc. So they came here for the curative powers of the springs. Got to help them, heal them, make them better. It was the hunters who heard of the curative powers of the natural springs that brought the first settlers to the area. In the early part of 1879, there was about 400 settlers here in Eureka Springs and around the Basin Springs. And what they started to do was they started to build shanties, put up tents, and also started to build a town around all the springs. On July 4th, 1879, Eureka Springs became a city. At the end of that year, the population had grown to over 10,000 people. So in a period of time, a year, 10,000 people came into Eureka Springs. At one time, the population had gotten up to over 20,000 people. You know what the population is today in Eureka Springs? 2,100 people. All right? So, big switch, and basically just a tourist town. Anyways, in 1882, there was a man named Powell Clayton. He used to be the former governor of Arkansas, who founded the Eureka Springs Improvement Company, along with some oil barons and railroad tycoons. Here again, if you have that big influx of people, then you need a railroad. If you're going to have a railroad, you need a hotel and all the amenities to go along with it. So in 1884, the Eureka Springs Improvement Company, along with the Frisco Railroad, jointly built this hotel at a cost of $294,000. Well, that was a lot of money back in those days, $294,000. They used Irish stonemasons to build the hotel. They used magnesium limestone from the riverbeds of the White River. They had to have special wagons to bring it up here. When they got it up here, they cut it into 18-inch blocks. They polished it on both sides, and they dry stacked it. So these walls on the outside dry stacked. There's no mortar in between them whatsoever. They said the only thing that holds the walls up basically is gravity. The hotel was completed in 1886, and at that time it was the biggest hotel west of the Mississippi. And it was for the rich and the famous only. And if you didn't have an invitation, you couldn't get in. They had orchestras at nights. They had teas for the ladies during the afternoon. They had the stables for the rides and the carriage rides. They had the gardens and the pools. But again, it was only for the rich and famous. However, at the turn of the century, for whatever reason, people started to stay away from Eureka Springs. We don't know whether the springs were losing some of that curative power. But anyways, population was going down. They weren't getting that influx of visitors, and the hotel was starting to lose revenue. So what they did was, in 1908, they opened up the Crescent College and Conservatory for young women. Again, keeping in the same thing, it was an exclusive academy for young, wealthy women. basically a finishing school. It stayed that way until 1934, and then it closed for a few years, till 1937. And then in 1937, that's when we entered the dark period for the hotel. Now, I'm sure you guys haven't heard of him, but has anybody ever heard of Norman Baker? Really? Oh, you have. Okay, I didn't think these guys would hear Norman Baker. Anyways, Norman Baker, he arrives here in 1937. He's driving a purple car. He's in a white silk suit with a purple shirt. And he bought the old hotel and the surrounding 28 acres for $50,000. So $294,000 back in 1884, $50,000 in 1937. And what his intent was to have a cancer treatment facility and a health resort spa. This is the last thing we have of that particular era of time where it says cancer curable, Eureka Springs, Arkansas, Baker Hospital. And we're going to talk a lot more about him on the tour, but I'll tell you what his treatment was, one of his concoctions to treat cancer. Basically, he used opiates and herbs, which is basically a narcotic, along with crushed watermelon seed, corn silk, alcohol, and carbolic acid, kind of mixed it together and kind of injected people. And that's what he thought would be a good cure for cancer. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think it would do much for me, other than maybe drive me a little bit nuts. To her death. All right. Now, the thing about this little girl is that what she likes to do is she likes to poke people in their belly button. She also likes to poke people in the back. Last Saturday, when I got to this location and was talking about the little girl, there was a lady just like you know, one of those non-believers, okay? Not picking on you, I'm just telling you, because I like to tell the things that have happened on my tour. And she's standing right over there, and there's nobody behind her. And I said that this little girl likes to poke people. Next thing I know, this gal over here jumps and said, somebody just poked me in the butt. You know, loud enough for the whole tour to hear it. And we kind of all look at it. And she said, somebody poked me in the butt. And she's looking around to try to find some guilty party standing behind her. Wasn't anybody there. Wasn't anybody there whatsoever, okay? And I mean, that's a fact. Like I said, we don't have to fabricate things because things do happen. And all I can say was she was a non-believer because she said she was a skeptic in there and she got poked. And it was funny. I mean, everybody else laughed, but she didn't think it was real funny, okay? But I've also had a lady standing here saying that somebody's been jerking on her pant leg while we were standing here. So those are a couple of things that do happen. People have also heard at night a little girl out here playing. They open up the door, they come out, there's nobody there, all right? So that's a little girl. Now, does anybody know what this is?
EMF? EMF?
Yeah, EMF. Measures electromagnetic fields. Basically, it picks up energy. Engineers and electricians use them to find unsecured wires and wires and wall. So if I go, and this is on, all it's got is an on and off switch and a volume control. That's the only thing that works on this thing. So if I come over here and turn this on, put it by this painting, you would think that the painting is haunted. No, there's a panel box behind here, so I'm picking up the energy, okay? But if I come over here where the little girl fell, let's see if we're going to pick up anything tonight. There's nothing here, there's no wires in here whatsoever, okay? And it's pretty active tonight, so we may have a pretty decent night.
So if you've come this far, you've sat through about 10 minutes of this guy waffling on about, ooh, there's scary ghosts, ooh, watch out for the ghosts might get you, they're gonna poke you, they're gonna show up on your photos, blah, 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 blah. I'm not sure whether to believe it or not. Some strange things did happen. He spoke about these orb things, which are little white dots that show up on photos, and they showed up on several people's cameras that were in our group. Our group was way too small and the tour was way too cheap for it to be rigged. So, yeah, very strange things. I don't know whether I believe it or not or whatever, but have a look through the photos. The photos are in the picture gallery, so if you click on the the photo link. It should be up in that direction somewhere. Yeah, have a look through the photos, see if there's anything weird in there. You'll notice the last few photos, a few of them are negative. I didn't do that on the camera, that just happened by itself. That was a bit weird, but yeah, that's about it.
Is that all I gotta say? I think so.
Yeah, that's about it. Well, right now we're driving to Albuquerque, and yeah, I'm just getting a few of these video things sorted out, and you should be able to watch them. Although if you're watching this, you are already watching them, so what I just said then doesn't really matter. So thanks for tuning in. We'll get you some more video and hopefully some videos of Vegas pretty soon. Woo!